And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Thank you for making us a part of your Tuesday. How you doing over there, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm still recovering from a grumpy night, but, I'm doing all right.
Because it went to overtime?
Well, yeah, obviously it went to overtime, and it was the world's slowest, hardest to watch, stupidest game ever.
Wow, you didn't enjoy the game. I think a lot of people enjoyed that game last night.
I thought you were going to say you lost in Risk again.
No.
Made an example of.
No. Listen, nobody wants to watch 74 foul shots.
No, that's a lot.
Nobody, not one person. And both teams sat their bigs, and both teams made up for it by fouling on every single possession. So, no, I don't think anybody enjoyed watching that brand of basketball.
If you can't play interior defense, you foul. And yes, there were a lot of fouls.
And by the way, I'm not giving Cooper Flagg credit for scoring 42 points.
Oh.
Screw that.
You should.
20 foul shots. Shut the front door.
Well,
he did not play against a team that was serious about defense, I guess, if you really want to oversimplify it. But no, that was the easiest 42 in the world. Just somehow get into the paint and they go to the line. Good luck.
Well, somehow is carrying a lot of weight there. Somehow getting to the paint was.
You mean by getting Keyonte George switched on to you,
or
and
Bryce Sensabaugh, whoever, Lowry
right.
Markkanen, Ace Bailey, everybody the Jazz could throw at him. He got his shoulder into them and drove past them.
So
I thought it was
Cooper may be
extraordinary.
Good,
yeah.
May not. I don't know. But last night wasn't evidence of it. If anything, that was a THT hot dog against Charlotte game. It was so frustrating to watch. It was so horribly officiated. And it did get overly ticky-tacky, and they did take cheap shots because they had nothing else to do. And then they review the cheap shots and still have bungled that. Whereas Lowry's was totally inadvertent, and Keyonte George probably should have gotten a flagrant. And it made me angry about the whole review process. That was the worst. It was, and win or loss, whatever.
Sure.
But I'm talking about how the game was played.
Okay.
I'm talking about who played in the game. I'm talking about how the teams actually performed. All of it was so hard to watch and aggravating and long.
Was long. Did
and
go to
the
OT.
reason it went to overtime was stupid because if you just box out the simplest thing that they teach at the most basic levels of basketball. Ben, your son is familiar with the term
box out.
Box out.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know. I saw some people online being like, what a great game.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
A lot of points. A lot of big baskets.
It was close.
It was. Mavericks only play close games. I was talking to one of their writers yesterday, and he's like, yeah, every game's a clutch game. So last night qualified as well.
And they stink. They can barely field a team.
Yeah, when Anthony Davis doesn't play, they're not going to be competitive, which was by design last night. They wanted to lose that game, and they did.
I think the Jazz wanted to lose
the Jazz
that game.
Did want to
and
lose
that's
that
another
game,
thing.
And they could not.
The tank is on, so terrific. We're going to go through that again, as opposed to looking for development and things like that.
And probably more so than ever because they are so far ahead of schedule with the wins.
And now we're going to talk about losing games on purpose. Terrific. They're like nothing to be happy about in Jazz land today, in my opinion.
Okay, I would disagree.
Keyonte played well.
Absolutely.
But he didn't play against a serious team either.
Yeah, but again, and this goes with Cooper Flagg too. If this was a guy who averaged 6 points a game and goes for 35, a la Taylor Horton-Tucker, who cares? The difference is, and I said this to DJ before the show, before I jumped on with him, while the Jazz made Cooper Flagg look good last night, they made him look 2 weeks ahead of schedule, not 2 years ahead of schedule. This is not the last 40-point game we're going to see from Cooper Flagg this year. He's going to do this again, and he is one of the best young players we've seen come into the NBA in a very long time. But for the Jazz, and what's relevant for the Jazz is that Keyonte George's leap is absolutely real. He did it on the road at Memphis, and now he's doing it here in Salt Lake City. And yes, sometimes you play against bad teams, and you got to take advantage of that. And that's what he did last night. And, Memphis didn't have Zach Edey either, who's their best rim protector. If you don't have a good rim protector, Keyonte's saying, okay, then I'm just going to get to the paint at will, and I'm going to torch you. And if you try and stop me, you're going to foul me, which I had a Jazz fan in my mentions last night saying, you like that brand of basketball? No. But the NBA does, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just won the MVP, the finals MVP, and is on the best team that we may ever see because he gets to the foul line at will. And that's what the league is rewarding right now. So you don't have to love the way it looks, but if you have a guy who can manipulate the rules in his favor, you have a good player. And Keyonte George is learning how to do that. So if you're trying to figure out, what caliber of player he is, the sky becomes the limit if you can bend the rules to your will. And that's what Keyonte has begun to do. And that's why I thought last night was at the very least interesting, though I'm with you. You know, I got home at midnight last night too and had to get up early to come back and do an hour with DJ, which I'm happy to do. Wouldn't trade my job for anything, but I do recognize that this was a quick turnaround.
Yeah. A quick turnaround isn't all that aggravated me about the game.
I get it.
Not at all. And if you want to talk about the modern NBA and how that's aggravating too, sure, I'm more than willing to have that conversation. I honestly don't even care about Keyonte's point total or last night in particular for Keyonte because I don't need to see him score 37 points. I'm perfectly aware if he's capable of having a night where he scores 37 and gets 6 assists. That is not a shocker anymore. I want to know what he does next game. And the game after that, and the game after that. And you asked a good question in the postgame about Keyonte and when, I can't remember how you phrased it, but it's when you just expect it.
Yeah.
Right? It's when, okay, you're just going to get 22 and 8 from this guy every single night, and we don't have to worry about the no-shows. And, I mean, I thought Will kind of gave you a good answer. I'm not sure if it was exactly what you're looking for. It was kind of more of those, onward and upward and you never arrived kind of things, which you expect to hear from a coach. But that's very much relevant in the discussion about Keyonte George. Because if you can just expect 22 and 8 to walk through the door every single night, and maybe he shoots 50%, maybe he shoots 38%, but it's 22 and 8 every single night, well, then all of a sudden you've got a guy and you can stop worrying about that. That's what's relevant, I think.
Here's what Will said to me last night, because I said the verbiage essentially was, when do you just recognize that what Keyonte's doing is baked in to your game plan? When can you just say, this is something we're going to get every night? Now, how do we take the next step with him or other players around him? And he said, Keyonte has changed all of our expectations for him, and I think that's a good thing. I think that does make us feel differently about him in terms of our roster and what it could mean moving forward, which if I'm reading through it, and if he wants to disagree with me or correct me next time we talk, he can. But that does sound like this is a person we're building around. And well, this has been the big conversation in Jazz land about the term building around because of Yusuf Nurkic's response to a Jazz fan who said you can't build around Lauri Markkanen, Keyonte George, or Ace Bailey. Does seem like Will Hardy is saying this is a person you can at least factor into how you're building your roster. And outside of Lauri Markkanen, I don't know if the Jazz have another player that you can say that about. And now Keyonte's in that group, which means you've doubled the number of players you might feel confident doing that with.
I don't know. Maybe I'm tired of cliches or something, but the whole build around thing is silly. Listen, if Hot Dog scores 40 against the Hornets one night, but he's not a serious player, you're not going to keep him on your team. If Keyonte George can consistently average 20 and 8 or whatever over an NBA season, then all of a sudden he's a piece of what you're doing. Whether you trade him or whether you keep him or whatever, that's all that's relevant. Build around. What do you think that the Jazz would reject a player because, like, wait a minute, we're already building around Keyonte?
No.
That seems really silly to me. And I know I'm not saying you, Ben, because everybody uses the term build around. Where the Jazz are as a franchise, they need dudes. They need players that can play, and it needs to fit their timeline because they can't bring in a bunch of geezers who are only going to be around for a year or two because that's not the window that they're operating in. So there are some parameters, but they need players. And if Keyonte's a player, then okay, they're building around Keyonte, whatever that means. If Taylor Hendricks is a player, then they're going to build around Taylor Hendricks, whatever that means, and Keyonte George. And so, I don't know, build around seems silly to me. Build around Lauri Markkanen? I don't know. You're going to use Lauri Markkanen to better your team. And whether that's him playing on the team or him playing for the Bucks is open, and I use the Bucks because they're the latest with trade rumors, right? That's open for some sort of discussion. They're not in a place where there's not an untouchable player on the team. Anybody could be traded at any time. There's no guaranteed slot. They just need guys that can play NBA high-level basketball, period, end of story. And if Keyonte's that, then that's a real win where people thought that was a loss 6 months ago.
I totally agree. And the hard part there, or maybe it's a thing that we make up as a hard part. I don't know. I do think this is one of the difficult nuances of being an NBA front office member is how do you know what's empty calories and how do you know what's not? And that was part of my question last night for Will Hardy that, I'm not sure he answered. And I didn't ask it directly, so that is on me if that was the answer I was looking for. But essentially it's how do you know what's real? Because Bradley Beal was the old maid. And Bradley Beal's numbers are better than what Keyonte George has put up. Bradley Beal was 30 points a game, all this, all that. Conceivably a guy you should build around. And it didn't actually contribute to winning. We did a segment yesterday on the show about Donovan Mitchell. And, I got to be better. I've got to do all this stuff. What Keontae's doing right now in his third year is almost identical to what Donovan Mitchell did in his third year. So when you believe that Keyonte is Donovan Mitchell, is he? Well, Donovan Mitchell was winning 50 games a year and putting up these points. Does that matter more? Or was Donovan Mitchell just playing next to Rudy Gobert? And was that the difference? And the Jazz brought in Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley. Well, put this Keyonte George next to a future Hall of Famer in Rudy Gobert, an all-star in Mike Conley, and a very good role player in Bojan Bogdanovic. Are the Jazz winning 50 games again? And if so, does that mean the Jazz have Donovan Mitchell and Keyonte George, or do the Jazz have Bradley Beal and it doesn't matter? I think that is a real conversation.
It's all empty calories until they win in the playoffs, period. It is.
Yeah,
it's
that's totally
It's
fair.
all empty calories
question.
until they beat a legitimate team in the playoffs and they advance on, which Donovan did do. But the silly thing about the build-around thing is why would you build around Donovan? That wasn't enough. Donovan isn't enough on his own, nor is any NBA player. So, again, getting back to this silly, build-around, you can't build around two guys. You can't build around three guys. You got to have a team of at least 8 to 9 guys.
Yeah, good players.
To compete for a championship. And we've seen Denver not compete for a championship last year because they were the thinnest team you've ever seen. They've got the best player on the planet. They've got complementary pieces. Their coaching situation was a bit of a snafu. But they only had 5 legitimate NBA guys on the roster, and you aren't going anywhere.
Yeah,
so
the myth about the Nuggets that people overlook now is not only did they have the best player in the world in Jokic, they also had maybe the best number 2 guy in the world, whether that was Jamal Murray at the point or the best number 3 guy in Aaron Gordon, and so on down the line, where Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was the best 5th player on the team on the planet, and Bruce Brown was the best 6th man on the planet in that run. They were all the guys playing the right roles at that time. So yes, to your point, you can't only focus on the number 1 or number 2 guys. Now, if you have the 6th best 6th man on the team or the best 6th man on the team, that doesn't matter if you don't have the guys in front of him. I think that is absolutely relevant to what the Jazz are trying to do. But yes, to your point, it can't just be 1 or 2 guys. It can't just be Cooper Flagg.
no, LeBron himself could not get the Cavs over the hump just with LeBron and a cascade of clowns. Multiple runs in Cleveland, LeBron couldn't.
Got maybe as close as anybody, but couldn't get it there.
And you know what? LeBron, or Cooper Flagg for that matter, ain't walking through the door down there at Southtown Mall anytime soon. So what are you going to do? You going to just lie down until somehow you luck into LeBron? I mean, I guess that's kind of what the Cavs did for a minute until they got him in the draft. But the Jazz need to. The Jazz, I don't think, are at the, if we want to entertain the build-around discussion, the Jazz aren't even there.
No, I don't think they are either.
They're not there. I mean, if the Mavs want to say we're going to build around Cooper Flagg, okay, but hilariously enough, they're not even doing that in Dallas because that team is full of geezers and nobodies. So, wait till Dallas jettisons the geezers and goes super young, and then we'll see how well Cooper Flagg's doing then. I mean, team building in the NBA is totally fascinating to me.
It is.
And where the Jazz are now, I don't think they have the luxury of those discussions. I really don't. If a contending team calls about Keyonte George today and is going to give you a bunch of stuff, you move them.
You certainly listen.
Now,
you listen less than you did 6 months ago, but you're also getting a different offer.
And I'm on the Keyonte bandwagon. If he stays with the Jazz, I think he would likely have many productive years here, it seems. Yep. But if Milwaukee calls tomorrow and says, you guys want Giannis, and you say, well, okay, what do you guys want? And they say Keyonte, you say, all right.
Yeah, of course.
Sounds good.
Yes, no question about it. But where this is interesting and where I think you're right on is you're not having the conversation of building around these guys yet. You're starting to put the puzzle again to a little bit. The fog is clearing. The smoke is clearing. You're starting to see a little bit of an idea of what this thing could look like, and Lowry could be a part of it, and Keyonte's proving he could be a part of it. But, if you feel like the biggest piece of the puzzle still has to come via the draft, which I don't actually even necessarily agree with, but
I don't either.
It is the route the Jazz have taken over the last 3 seasons of thinking that's the most likely way to get this player. You aren't at the build-around stage. You are still saying that you need another guy to come in to actually start the build-around process, which does mean that what you're seeing right now between Keyonte and Lowry is a little bit of fool's gold, which is where you started this segment, that scoring 70 combined points against the Dallas Mavericks without Anthony Davis or Derek Lively, who are their two good big men in the paint, doesn't actually mean anything. And the Jazz might agree with you.
And it is what is stupid about the NBA, and the team's intentionally losing. And I heard DJ set the number at a third. That's probably about right. Not just a third who are trying and aren't very good, but a third who are trying to lose. And I don't know. I think that's a problem. And it wasn't the players' problem last night. I mean, they played hard, did what they could. The Jazz players played to win, and good for them. But not rostering any bigs. Either team rostering any bigs. That is a not serious game. And, hey, super stoked it was close. Yeah. I'm glad the fans got to see some big shots or whatever, but I thought it was a pretty unattractive brand of basketball, and it was two teams that were not fielding serious teams.
I agree with you. The only aspect of that is that the win still counts in the win column, and the Jazz are going to have to negotiate that with what they want to do for the rest of the season if they feel like the best way to continue to build this team, even if they're not building around Lowry Markin or Keyonte George, is through the draft. They're going to have to figure out a way to make sure they don't win too many games before the end of the year to hold on to
It's an NBA problem, not a Jazz problem, but it doesn't mean that I have to like it, which I do not.
And it doesn't mean the Jazz are immune from dealing with it, because the Jazz have to deal with it. The Jazz do have to deal with it for the rest of the season now.
All right, guys. Nurk's not playing. Phil's not serious inside. How are we gonna stop these guys? Foul them every time.
Yeah, more fouls.
And both teams brought that strategy.
Yes, they did.
They're like, we're going to foul every time. And then, interestingly enough, at the end of the fourth quarter, they stopped calling fouls, which was fine with me.
Of course.
But yeah, I would be aggravated if I were a player then, too. It's like, wait a minute. I couldn't breathe on somebody for the entire game.
42 minutes.
And now, I mean, both sides, like, hard fouls in the paint. And they're like, man, letting it go.
Play through it. Yep.
It's like Leslie Nielsen in The Naked Gun, where he's the umpire, and he keeps, really selling the strike calls. He's doing the moonwalk and all that stuff. And then they come up to him, and they're like, you can't let him get the third out. And so he gets back behind the plate, and the guy throws a total pipe shot, and he's like, ball. Then comes another ball. Hilarious.
Yeah. Leslie Nielsen had it.
Man, you can't even touch your guy on defense without getting a call. Oh, it's under 90 seconds to go. No!
Play on.
Play on, everyone. Deal with it. Hilarious. Ball. Ball. Then the guy pops up, and he throws all the balls in the back. Man, I love that movie. All right, stay tuned. Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Coming up next is Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the Top 3 Stories of the Day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Get the best blankets and gifts ever. Save 50% off at Miki Couture with the promo code ZONE50. Shop online at MikiCouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. And let me tell you, that ZONE50, that's the best deal in town.
That's the ticket.
You're welcome. ZONE50, Miki Couture, and you're going to win Christmas. I know it's not supposed to be a competition, but you can take home the W. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Do you view that as a competition with you and your spouse?
Yes.
Do you really?
Everything is.
Oh.
If you're not competing, you're falling behind.
I definitely do not.
No, of course not.
But I am not a very good gift giver, so that might be one of those can't win, don't try kind of things.
No, I try and give a good Christmas. Do my best. Hope everyone has a good time. And you will with a Minky.
Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love for J. Brooks Jewelers. With J. Brooks Jewelers, explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers, speaking of winning Christmas. Hint, hint. Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, you guys had a great conversation with Christian Cox yesterday talking about Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley in the Utah football program. But what is next for Kyle Whittingham after stepping down?
Not retirement.
Not flat-out retirement, not a commitment to retirement. That doesn't mean that couldn't be the pathway. But again, this Michigan job keeps getting brought up. I think it has more to do with the fact that these stories are so close together. Sharon Moore going to jail, potentially, and Kyle Whittingham becoming a free man in the coaching search is probably more the reason why Whit's a candidate. But look, Michigan is finding itself in an emergency situation, and they are not going to be able to pick what most seasons would be a highly sought-after job with highly sought-after coaches. Now, Whit is a great coach, and if Whit ends up being the safety net, it's actually one of the better safety nets. But I don't think anybody they hired this year is going to be the guy who's going to be the coach 3 years from now. Now, for Kyle Whittingham, he might say, great, I don't want to be coaching 3 years from now. Let me go, spend 2 years at Michigan trying to win and seeing what level I can win at. And what if I do exceed expectations even for myself and I enjoy it? Maybe I will coach until I'm 70. And make another, $8 to $10 million a year if things are going well. What I would hate to see is Michigan to leverage Whit against other guys and dangle him without, I don't want to say him recognizing because he's a smart person. I'm not trying to make it sound like he's a senile guy who doesn't know what's happening or how he would be manipulated. But I would hate to see Whit's name floated out there if the team doesn't have any actual interest in him and is only doing it to force the hand of a younger coach or a different coach to accept the job.
All right. I mean, I don't care if he leverages or who leverages what. If Dilly squeezes $2 million more out of Michigan because Kyle Whittingham's agent or something. I mean, I honestly don't care about that. I don't think that Coach Whit should even consider that job, nor do I think they should even consider Coach Whit. And I actually think it's the reason Dilly shouldn't consider going to Michigan either, although it's a little less with him because of his age. Yeah. But Whit knows how to win at Utah. His formula works at Utah. Dilly knows how to win at Arizona State because he's an Arizona State guy and he knows how to win there. He's leaned into the heat, all this stuff that other coaches have been scared to do because Phoenix is a unique place. The difference is that Dilly is a young man who is smart and ambitious and probably willing to play the game. Yeah. Does that make any sense? Whit is in the I don't give a what phase of his career, which he's more than earned. Does he really want to take a high-profile, high-pressure job that you probably have to compromise your moral integrity to do, where you really don't have a ton of say because there are other big-time factors in your employment, and you've probably got a whole program you have to overhaul, so it's a big job that would probably take some time. And I don't think the Michigan Wolverine fans are willing to give much time. So for Whit, I wouldn't consider it. For Michigan, I certainly wouldn't consider it. I'm going to hire an older, conservative, and I'm not talking politically, I'm talking like lifestyle. I have no idea what Whit's politics are, nor do I think they're relevant. Yeah. But he's a conservative dude that rides his Huffy to practice or whatever. I mean, he's certainly not Sharon Moore, but he's kind of a white picket fence kind of dude. And I don't think they should be looking for a conservative white picket fence kind of, I don't give a what, I'm in the, I'm going to like this job phase of my life. I don't think that's what they need either.
So what do they need?
They need somebody like Dilly. They do. They need young, ambitious, and willing to do what it takes to win at all costs because everything is on the line for them. Their career is on the line. Picture Urban when he went to Florida. I think that's, at this late stage in the game, I think that's the kind of person. Or else hire internal, hire a Michigan man who's just going to cheat his backside off. Yeah. It's one of those two. I don't think you hire the straight arrow, long-time coach from Utah. I don't think that works.
They just missed what was a potentially pretty good window. Despite the fact that this was a great seller's market if you were a coach. If you were a coach, it was a great time to be on the market, renegotiating your contract or trying to leave. And Lane Kiffin took advantage of it, and Kurt Signetti took advantage of it. Coaches all over the country took advantage of it. Nebraska's head coach took advantage of it. Like, getting all these deals restructured to get more money was great, or you leave and you take a bigger job at Florida or at LSU to get paid. This was a really good year to be those guys, particularly. It wasn't like there was a bunch of great coaches that were on the move. That did not actually happen this season. And Michigan even missed that window that closed really quickly. So they're already picking between fewer teams. And Michigan, is on par with Florida and with LSU as far as quality of jobs go. And those jobs didn't go to, I guess, the cream of the crop of college football coaches that were available, maybe outside of Lane Kiffin. So they're already fighting with one hand behind their back. And then they're trying to do it after the process has essentially ended. So if they could pull a Dillingham, that would be absolutely pulling an ace. I think that would be a superb hire if you could lure him away. And maybe they can just simply because it's Michigan. I just don't know if they're going to get that quality of coach.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark Harlan, though, has now become Bill Belichick.
In what way?
Bill Belichick said goodbye to Tom Brady when he still had gas left in the tank. And so Bill was left on the sideline cheering against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl because it was going to reflect poorly on Bill. If Kyle has something in the tank and goes anywhere and truly succeeds
and wins,
it's not going to look good. It's not going to make Mark Harlan look good. Now, Morgan has a lot to do with that. If Morgan succeeds, then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But if it goes like the Patriots and Belichick went, where all of a sudden they were on the fast train to Sucktown, and Tom Brady was still winning Super Bowls, that's a bad look. That's how a legend like Bill Belichick gets fired in New England.
It is very safe to say that while we don't know exactly why Whit left Utah when he did, he didn't do it because he was done with coaching entirely.
Yep.
So was he forced out? I don't know. Was he done with Utah? I don't know. Did Mark Harlan ask him to leave? I don't know. Did Boosters ask him to leave? I don't know. I've heard a lot of things. But regardless, this wasn't a guy who said, well, I've run my race and I'm done and I'm excited to enter retirement and slow my life down. That's not what we've heard about Kyle Whittingham or from Kyle Whittingham in the slightest. So yes, that does leave the door open for him to go have success elsewhere. And if that does happen, it's not going to look good for Mark Harlan. Which
isn't a good relationship to have with your legendary coach, in my opinion. It's why you deal with these things sensitively and let some of these coaches make their own decisions. But the impression I get is that at least Kyle would be willing to be still at Utah. That's the impression I get. I don't want to report anything because I haven't talked to anybody with the last name Whittingham or anything, but he's got gas left in the tank.
Yep.
And Utah was willing to, I don't know.
Welcome him back.
Yeah, welcome him back. I think he'd be back.
I agree.
So now they're in a really awkward position where they're cheering against their legend.
Not fun.
I hope for Whit, and I don't know. I think him going into the NFL and landing like a linebacker spot with the Chiefs or something like that, I think that'd be pretty dang cool. And actually, you can be in your I don't give a what phase and be a position coach in the NFL where you're actually coaching and you're not recruiting. You're still making a nice salary, but it's not your neck on the line. But I don't know. Coaches have big egos, and I'm sure Coach Whit would be eager to prove that he's still got something left.
No question.
Yeah. All right, next.
Number 2, the Utah Mammoth on an East Coast road trip, playing at Boston tonight, trying to make it 3 wins in a row.
Yeah, got to continue to take steps in the right direction, winning back-to-back the way they did. Pretty dominant, or not dominant, but confident and comfortable win over the Kraken, and then the major comeback against the Penguins in their last outing. Yeah, go out there and get a third. That's how you lace together, what was it, a 7, 8, 9 win streak, and put yourself very firmly back into the playoff spot.
Cole Bagley is going to join us to talk all about it coming up at the top of the 11 o'clock hour.
Great.
So it's 11:30.
The bottom of the 11 o'clock hour.
11:30, Cole Bagley will be on the show, and we'll ask him about the mighty Boston Bruins, who currently, Ben, are sitting on 38 points. So pretty good. Next.
Number 3, breaking news out of Ogden this morning. Weber State has their next head coach.
Eric Kerr is taking the job, leaving Corner Canyon, which Corner Canyon has turned into one of the premier high school programs, not just in the state, but in the entire country. He's had several NFL quarterbacks come through his high school, and now he tries to do it at Weber State.
I I'm eager. I like kind of. I don't know if you want to call hiring a high school coach out of the box, because it certainly has happened before. But I like some out of the box thinking, and maybe going to a high school guy with some success who can bring a different philosophy in. Because I do think there are talented coaches who coach high school and don't make the millions of dollars. So it's cool to see, them get an opportunity. The thing is, though, Ben, is that coaching in college and coaching in high school are so different. And he could have the best schemes on the planet. If you don't get the players, it doesn't matter. And in college, you have to figure out how to go out and get players. And I'm sure he's developed a plan and told Weber State how they're going to do that. But to say it and do it are a couple of different things. He can boast about a couple of NFL quarterbacks, which I'm sure will help him, but it's still a completely different animal. So I like that Weber hired a guy that has a ton of potential, and I'm eager to see if it works.
I hope they give him some time, because it's a different animal that he's tackling at Weber State than he had at Corner Canyon, but clearly he does have an eye for talent and can put up some big offenses. So we'll see if that's able to work, but it's an unusual path. You don't see a lot of high school head coaches jump immediately to college head coach, regardless of the level. You see guys take position coaching jobs. You see guys, test the water, find their way in, and then move up that way. But to jump from, the number one guy in high school to the number one team in college is a pretty massive leap. So we will see. Just knowing football do it. Troy Taylor worked his way up to becoming the head coach of Stanford after being a high school head coach and then going to the FCS level as a coordinator, et cetera, up the list. We'll see if Eric Herr can do better.
What's next? Oh, that's it. There you go. That's
the
number 3.
Story
Sorry
at
about
KSLSports.com.
All right. Well, I'll get to more coming up next. Jake and Ben. All right. Let's give away Jazz tickets. It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're going to hook you up with a pair of tickets to go see the Jazz and the Magic coming up on Saturday, December the 20th at Delta Center. Tip-off for that one will be at 7:30. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Stay tuned. More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We want to remind you about our good friends at My Hearing Centers. They're going to be hanging out with Hanson Scotty coming up today from noon to 3, 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. Ben, real quick, responding to something coming in on the Snap Talk, and then I have another thing for you. But our friend 801 Sports tweets in, he says, Michigan did just win a championship with a conservative white picket fence kind of guy with Harbaugh. Witt would win there as well. Let me clarify what I meant about conservative white picket fence kind of guy. And not that I think Witt would be above trying to find a competitive edge. I don't think he would be willing to go.
Connor Stallions?
Yeah. And I
Not
don't.
at all.
Jim Harbaugh, I think, compromised some stuff to win.
No question about it.
I mean, when there are stories about him hiding in trees to get recruits and
There's
stuff
a
like that.
reason he's not in college anymore.
Right.
He was winning at the highest level, was going to be the highest paid coach in college football if he wasn't already. Had every advantage you can get, including a title, and said, nope, I want the notoriously great NFL team, the San Diego, now LA Chargers.
Uh-huh.
I want that job. No, he had to get out of town.
So, yeah, I'm not talking about – I was trying to talk about integrity, really, and I used words that didn't mean that. So
no, they could have double meanings.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, right. So, yeah, I don't think Witt is willing to compromise his integrity like he would be asked to do in Michigan.
And while
that's my point.
I do think a lot of teams, we saw with BYU, may want to, have the pendulum swing the other direction amid scandal to clean up their image. You did make a good point that why? It does matter at some schools because some schools don't have every other advantage going for them. So if they lose what advantage they do have, which, by the way, BYU's image is an advantage for them.
Uh-huh.
If you lose that, maybe players don't want to go there. That's not an advantage Michigan has to worry about. People want to go play at Michigan. Kids want to go play at Michigan. Parents want their kids to go play at Michigan. They want to play in the big house. It has all of these things working in their favor. What do they care if they're minding every rule?
They just want to win.
They just want to win.
That's it.
And they will find a coach that comes in and says, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win here. And while Witt will say that, when pressed on it, Is he going to put a man in a beard and a fake chin to go sit on the sidelines to read the other team's playbook? Probably not.
No.
Is he going to sit in a tree to get a recruit? No, he might block off some fences so the media can't see, which he's done at Utah. But that's the exact opposite of what Harbaugh was trying to do.
He's not gonna tell the broadcast crew he's starting at quarterback, but he's not going to.
Brian Kelly's going to put a kid up in a crane.
I don't.
To get an advantage if he feels like it's good for him, risking his life. I don't think Witt's going to do that.
I don't think so either. I mean, you can say I'm going to do whatever it takes to win this race, but does that mean you're going to poison your competitor before it starts?
And Will Wade says yes.
Will Wade says absolutely. Kyle Whittingham says probably
Harbaugh
not.
says yes.
Harbaugh said, yeah, well, I already did that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Sharon Moore said, hold on, I'm DMing somebody.
Hold on, I'm busy. Hilarious. And then the other thing I have for you, Ben, just real quickly. Have you noticed the start that your Kentucky Wildcats are off to?
I have.
7-4, and they basically lost to every decent team they've played.
They're unranked.
Unranked, and people are grumpy about Mark Pope. Have you seen the latest from him, though?
I have not.
He has been ordered not to speak over a conversational volume for the next couple of days due to the strain on his voice from yelling during Kentucky's struggles. Quote, it's been a pretty emotional several weeks, and it's been taxing on my voice, unquote. So he can't scream at his guys for a couple of days.
This has an interesting potential to be what seemed like a major loss for BYU turning into one of the greatest things that's ever happened in BYU athletics. I mean, losing Mark Pope and the chain reaction of landing Kevin Young, down the line Rob Wright, down the line A.J. DeBonsa, and maybe it was the other way around, but
it was DeBonsa first.
DeBonsa first, Rob Wright second. To end up in this position that BYU's in, and the first domino being Mark Pope getting hired by Kentucky after, by the way, they also missed out on a lot of other coaches before they dialed up an alum.
Be careful hiring the hometown hero.
It has set BYU up to,
surpass Kentucky.
Certainly, I mean, they're already better than Kentucky. It's pretty incredible. It is funny. We can try and predict how these things are going to work out and what it's going to look like, and you can never really do it and how people are going to respond to being spurned, and that's what happened with Mark Pope at BYU. And it's been, honestly, nothing but a good thing since. He's not going to last long at Kentucky.
Remember, okay, when I was talking about Texas Tech before the football season started, I made the point, like, it's one thing to have the dough, but what do you do with it? And obviously, Texas Tech spent it on some really great players, and it's made a great impact for them. Kentucky has a bigger budget, allegedly, than anyone else in college basketball for players. And I think their roster is north of I can't even remember the number I heard, but it was like $22 or $25 million or something crazy. He spent it on all of the wrong guys. Like, he didn't get – it's one thing to have that dough, but what do you do? What do you do with it? Who do you bring in? Who are you able to bring in? What do you need to bring in? My criticism about Texas Tech was, well, they're never tough. So are they going to bring in a bunch of flashy dudes that are going to score 40 points and you're going to give up 45 because that's been the history? Or are you going to be a tough team? And what I didn't know at the time was the guy spending the money – I knew there was a guy. I didn't realize it was a former O-lineman who knows what it takes to be tough in football and spend it in a lot of the right ways. Mark Pope spent it on Bozo the Clown.
Mark Pope's teams that have won have consistently been able to do one thing very well, and that's shoot the cover off the ball. He is a good coach at getting players open shots. Coincidentally, so is Kevin Young. But he could get his teams shooting pretty well. And actually, that's what they did last year at Kentucky. They shot the ball well, but people were grumpy because they didn't have NBA players, and they liked the flash of having top 5, top 6, top 10 picks, and not just one on their team at any given time, but multiples. And that is what Coach Calipari did extraordinarily well. He always had lottery picks on his roster. So not only did they usually compete at the NCAA level, even though they only won one title, but they also had the benefit of watching those guys succeed in the NBA and then say, look, we played at Kentucky, and that was a system that fed itself. Now Mark Pope's team cannot shoot in the slightest. They are a terrible shooting team. And outside of Jaden Quinton, who I'm not sure has played this season, who was at Arizona State last year and transferred in, I don't know if they have an NBA player on their roster, they do, including Colin Chandler.
In fact, they paid a lot of money for a transfer point guard couldn't shoot his way out of a paper bag. Christian could go play horse with him right now, and Christian would win.
Christian's a heavy favorite.
Appreciate
Spotting Christian 2 letters.
He'd dominate.
He'd win.
He'd dominate. Yeah, I don't understand. Who are you spending it on? You know, that very much is relevant. So Mark Pope, anyway, has to be a little quiet for a while.
Stop talking, Mark.
Or at least stop berating your players.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
But that'd be like asking Lloyd to stop berating everybody.
But you know what? And look, I don't want to call Mark Pope a bozo. I'm not saying that.
There could be a bozo. There's a bozo factor with everybody.
But
there could be
we have talked a lot about coaches. The smart coaches, you know what they do? They recognize if they're bozos. And they cash in when they get a chance to cash in. And Mark Pope cashed in going to Kentucky. He's probably getting a very handsome salary. We can look up the salary. He's getting a very handsome salary. He's punched his ticket. Whatever happens, who cares? You buy me out, fine. I still got paid. I struck when the iron was hot. And that is a place where college teams can get in trouble and coaches can cash in. And Mark Pope cashed in. Now we'll see. Maybe he's able to turn this around. Teams have slow starts. It's not terribly uncommon in college basketball, and you can make a good run. $5 million. Less than Kevin Young, right?
No,
what,
wasn't
6 years, 26 or something like that?
Wasn't Kevin's? Didn't that come out of his 3 or 4?
Okay, whatever it was. I thought it was over 20 plus million. Certainly was over 20 million. I remember that report. But neither here nor there. Some coaches recognize, hey, I don't really, and I'm not going to say Mark Pope doesn't care about winning. Clearly he does. He's a head coach. But some guys recognize their opportunity to cash in. And I think Mark Pope's done.
7 years, $30 million, 4.3 annually.
Okay. So not quite to the AAV, as they say in hockey, for Kevin Young that Mark Pope got. Though, that will change. You keep winning like this, and he's going to get paid again.
Like what?
Like this.
Stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.